Mr. President, I'd like to start with a quote. No man is above the law, and no man is below it. Nor do we ask any man's permission when we require him to obey it. Mr. President, I rise today to register my opposition to the Detroit bankruptcy bills, which would keep the city of Detroit under the rule of some unelected cronies for Lord knows how long. Mr. President, this oversight commission is like me at Buffalo Wild Wings. Once you let them in, they never leave. I am glad this body is finally taking an interest in my community. It's long past time the state lent a helping hand in Detroit, but there's a big difference, my friends, between a helping hand and a handcuff. Yes, pensions will be protected, and under the state constitution and the 10th Amendment, they should be. Honoring the promises made to retirees decades ago. Yes, the collection of the Detroit Institute of Arts will not be sold off to pay shady bankers who made loans to a city who knew they couldn't afford them. The definition of predatory lending. These are all good things, and I'm glad to see them resolved. But I remain dismayed that that interest translates to ownership, possession, and oversight. Mr. President, my community, my constituency was made a promise that once Kevin Orr, who wasn't elected the dog catcher, who came in there illegally and unconstitutionally, did what he was going to do, he was going to leave. And the city of Detroit would return back to self-governance. But here we are once again, handcuffing, usurping, taking away the right to vote of the citizens. Mr. President, my constituency has given up too much for the right to vote. My constituency has been killed for the right to vote. My constituency has been lynched for the right to vote. My constituency has been hosed for the right to vote. My constituency has had dogs sicked on them for the right to vote. Any man that would sacrifice democracy for money deserves neither democracy or money. Man's back is not bent and it's not meant to be ridden. And I'd rather die on my feet like a man fighting for my constituency's right to vote than live on my knees in subjugation. Because that's what we want. The citizens of Detroit want jobs and justice, not jails and jaundice. They want economic elevation, not political subjugation. My community wants to be included, not exploited by greedy Wall Street bankers who took advantage of the citizens, who are the reason most of them had their houses foreclosed on, by bottom-feeding barristers that came in and making millions of dollars at the expense of the city of Detroit that's supposed to be bankrupt. What about the community as a whole? What about the people who are unemployed? My district, my community, my city, 48% real unemployment rate. I got constituents who's going to job, 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 to job. This package ain't helping them. What about my constituents who have been redlined by the auto insurance industry for longer than I've been a person? This issue ain't helping them. It just seems to me that it don't matter if the law is illegal, legal, constitutional, non-constitutional. You can make it up as you go along. All fair and love and war when it comes time to everybody else getting their money. But when it comes to my constituency actually benefiting, when it comes to my constituency actually experiencing change on a real level, that is where we always fall short. The limits of the oppressed, limits of the oppressor are determined. No, excuse me. The power of the oppressor is determined by the limits of the oppressed. Mr. President, we have reached our limit in the city of Detroit. And they talking about, well, we giving these folks money and we bailing them out. How you gonna bail out somebody you owe money to? State of Michigan owed the city of Detroit $732 billion. Got these Tea Partiers running around. Ain't been in Detroit since Magnum P.I. was on the air. But they gonna come in here and tell me and my constituents that they bailing us out. No, you paying us money we owe, money you took. So this state can balance its books. So this state can have clean parks. So this state can have cops on the street. Just so they can go to Belle Isle and then harass people and tell you look like riffraff, so you gotta get off the alley. But that's a different story. I'm not gonna go there, get on my soapbox. That's what's going on. And I'm not saying that people don't mean well. I'm not saying that, you don't care. I'm not saying that you're not trying to do the best of the pictures. But Mr. President, at some point in time, the people's agenda has to be upheld in this body. We could have had policy that could have took us towards immortal glory. And instead, we look at something that will probably put us in eternal shame. So, Mr. President, I just want to say again, these are all good things. And I'm glad to see them resolved. But it simply won't do for the people of my city, my friends, my neighbors, my constituents, to be put under the thumb of another body handpicked by this administration to enact policies in their own best interests, not Detroit's. It simply won't do to attempt to tie the hands of the public that clearly support the work of the DIA. Stop them for doing so by levying a millage. Such provisions are clearly dog whistles to the Tea Party groups that would rather see Detroit where they die than rebuild and thrive. Mr. President, I love my city. I want my city to be what we all know it can be. But I cannot support these bills that put the city of Detroit under the control of a mysterious oversight entity with undefined, almost omnipotent authority for an undetermined amount of time. 3 years, 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, 20 years. The rest of my lifetime, till the apocalypse comes, till the casket drops. There is no time that is okay for you to take the rights of the people to vote, because that's not your right to have. We live in America, Jack. We don't negotiate with terrorists. We don't sit down with tyrants. And we don't build colonies. And that's what this policy represents. Intrastate colonialism, and it's wrong. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself. So I'm going to say this in conclusion. Mr. President, someday, when I find the right person, I'm going to have children. And when I do I really want the conversation that I have with my child when they look at me and they say, why are we living under this elective despotism? Do I really want to have to talk to them about what it was like when man lived in a city where people were free, where they walked tall, where they stood proud, where they had the right to self-determination? Do I really want to have that conversation? Do I really want them to ask me, where was I when democracy died in Detroit? I say no. This bill is wrong. It's unconstitutional. For us to live in a country where the Constitution is our shield and liberty is our sword, this bill cannot pass. It will not pass. But I'm going to tell you this. This bill will be the spark plug that will ignite a supernova. And when that supernova falls and hits the ground, righteousness will shoot up from the ground and fall over its inhabitants. And either those people will vote and support democracy, or those that support tyranny, heart will be marked and their soul will feel the heat of the people of this state rising up for truth, justice, and the American way, to pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor for life, liberty, and democracy, and the pursuit of happiness. Please, Mr. President, we must vote this bill down. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I like my words printed in the journal.
Would you like those words printed as your no vote explanation for all the bills?
Yes, sir.
That is your constitutional right. The record will reflect such.